All right, so I'm back in the Adirondacks, just leaving the parking lot for the boat launch at Cranberry Lake. So I'm hiking the Cranberry Lake 50, a 50-mile loop around Cranberry Lake. It's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Just drove up here from New Jersey. So my plan is to do this hike in 5 days, with today's hike being pretty short and Friday's being pretty short. So it could go faster because I believe that the trail is relatively flat, but planning on just enjoying the lakeside campsite, so we'll see how it goes. It's a nice new trail here, or recently worked on, I should say. Not much to see on this hike today. I've been hiking for about 3 hours, mostly just a walk through the woods. Should be getting pretty close to the spot where I plan to camp tonight. All right, this is campsite number 42. It's pretty nice, kind of sticking out into a section of the lake. A little bit off the beaten path. A little bit of a hike off of the Cranberry Lake Trail, but well worth it. All right, it's morning of day 2. Just got back to the main trail. My campsite is about a little bit, maybe half mile, a little bit longer off the main trail. So now I'm back on the trail, headed to the town of Wanakina, which will be in about a mile. And then eventually, hopefully camping tonight at High Falls. A little bit of an issue. I always pack 2 lighters in case one doesn't work, and I did same as usual this time, but problem is sometime on my last trip, or between my last trip and now, the lighters must have been sitting someplace that was wet for a long time, and they're both like completely rusted. One doesn't work at all, one's barely making a spark. I was able to light a campfire last night and get my stove lit for dinner and breakfast, but it's barely making a spark now. So I'm hoping that in this little town, I don't really know what's there, but I'm hoping that there's some kind of a store that I can buy a cigarette lighter. Otherwise, it could be a problem. We'll see. So just passing by this, says it's the SUNY College of Environmental Science and Forestry, Ranger School. Forest Technology Program, Administration Building, Visitors Welcome, okay. Anyway, it's kind of hazy today so far. Should be getting to Wanakina very shortly, hopefully to find a store. All right, back in business. This little general store in Wanakina had a cigarette lighter, which is what I needed to continue. Got a Gatorade, and now I'm on my way. It's kind of a cute little lake town. So I'm walking across this suspension bridge now, which supposedly was built in 1902. Just leaving Wanakina, walking past this kind of swampy lake or pond. This is not part of Cranberry Lake, it's a separate pond. Very nice little town, very friendly people. Seems like a cool place to live or have a vacation home. So I never take bug spray on hiking trips. I never wear bug spray. My idea is I'd rather have bugs on me than chemicals, but I did bring it on this trip thinking it could be buggy, which it is. And I guess my non-toxic version of off is not doing anything. The bugs are swarming me. I've been putting it on like every 2 hours, not helping. All right, so this is the part that I've seen in a bunch of videos that I watch on YouTube. So the trail has been sort of overrun by a beaver dam or something like that. So there's a lot of water. So we'll see how this goes. I've been waiting for this part. So far, the hike has been pretty dry, but that's about to change. All right, so as I was crossing this part, I put my phone someplace safe in case I end up waist deep in the water or mud. For the most part, got some muddy shoes, but I never ended up more than ankle deep. But the trail basically goes along the backside of the beaver dam, so it's super muddy, but I made it through. So this is second place where the trail is basically walking along a beaver dam. This is not quite as bad so far, but pretty swampy. All right, beaver dam number 3. So trail junction here. So the sign says I've come 7.5 miles from Wanakina. Plus that means about maybe 9 or 9.5 from my campsite. And the trail to High Falls says 1.5 miles. This trail goes to some other ponds and campsites, I think. So I'll be headed this way. All right, beaver dam number 4, I think. This one actually is a nice lake they made here. So here we go. So the trail from High Rock basically to here, and sort of following this river, which is called, I think, the Oswegatchie River. I don't even know if this could be a tributary, but there's a lot of water, but it's very murky. And a lot of this part of the trail is very overgrown, grassy. Not ideal, but getting closer to High Falls. So I just turned onto the trail to High Falls. It said it's about 0.4 miles. And so around there's, I think, a couple lean-tos and some other campsites. So what we'll be looking for, a nice campsite. This is a spot just above the falls. Really kind of cool. I went for a couple swims in the kind of pool of water below the falls. Might go here later. This looked like a good spot to have dinner, which I'm doing right now. Really strange kind of rock formations that this river flows through. But we got dinner, rehydrating right now, chicken Alfredo pasta, and it's a little thunder in the distance, but it doesn't look so bad here. All right, just about to leave the High Falls campsite. The lean-to behind me is right next to nearby my campsite. So I just brought my stuff here and made breakfast here, since when I was waking up, there were some raindrops on my tent I could hear. So I thought it might rain, so I came to the lean-to, but as it turns out, the sun's coming out now. So today, be hiking, should pass a bunch of ponds with campsites. A side trail to Cat Mountain, which I'll probably check out. Eventually, I'm planning to camp probably at a campsite on Cranberry Lake that's called West Inlet Flow, or something like that. But there's some other sites nearby too that I could stop at. This is Glaspie Pond, I believe. All right, so I just turned onto a side trail to Cat Mountain. The sign says it's about 0.7 miles. So I just ditched my backpack and gonna check out what it looks like. So not quite at the summit yet, but it's a little rocky outcrop. That looks pretty cool, good view. Can barely see some kind of lake down there. So it's a pretty cool spot. I think well worth the 1.7 mile round trip. Down here, I believe, is the pond I was just at, Glaspie. But there's a nice open area, rocky spot at the summit. Over here, there's some kind of like weather station. Kind of hazy today, like every day. All right, back on the Cranberry Lake 50 trail. The side trip to Cat Mountain was about an hour and 10 minutes with round trip hike, plus spending some time at the top. So now, next stop will be Cat Mountain Pond. There should be a campsite. So here we are, Cat Mountain Pond. So there's supposed to be a campsite along the shore here someplace, so looking for that just to take a break, maybe swim. It's nice. So I found the Cat Mountain campsite right on the shore of the lake. So check out the lake here. All right, back on the road after a quick break at Cat Mountain Pond. I didn't go swimming there. It's really nice in the middle of your hike to have like a refreshing swim in a lake or creek. But anyway, I didn't. This lake, the shoreline by this side of the lake, basically very marshy and muddy and not very deep. So it didn't look that great. But it was a nice campsite. Now, next point of interest will be Cowhorn Pond, where there's a lean-to. So we'll take a break there. This is the Cowhorn Pond lean-to. And Cowhorn Pond here. It's kind of hiking like on a ridge, like above the shore of the lake for a long time. And then the trail here was about 0.2 miles off of the Cranberry Lake trail. You had to kind of go around a marshy area, and then it's kind of like on the other shore opposite of where the trail is. And there's a rowboat down here. Nice. Pretty nice. This is definitely swimmable. All right, well, that was a really nice camping spot or lean-to. Cowhorn Pond, really nice. It's almost beachy area, sandy shoreline. It's nice to go for a swim there. Now I'm headed back to the main trail, and next stop will be Olmsted Pond, which there's a couple campsites and a lean-to there. My plan was to go further to like West Flow, where there's one campsite, but if Olmsted Pond's really nice, it's possible I could just stay there. We'll see. All right, Olmsted Pond. This pond is supposed to be, I think, much bigger than some of the other ones I saw today, so this is just a small part of it here. So on one side of the lake, there's a lean-to and maybe a couple campsites. All right, so I've been hiking a long time along the lake, a lot of trail reroutes. I did walk right past the lean-to, which I think is probably on this like piece of land that's kind of jutting out. This campsite that I'm at really right now, which is pretty cool, I could see from the other side of the lake, but it took a long time to get here. But it's a pretty cool campsite. I'm gonna take a break here for a while. All right, so just checked out the West Flow campsite, and it's not really marked at all. I mean, there's a campsite there, but it's not the best spot. Not the part of the lake, not that great. So I've decided to keep going to Chair Rock Flow. Problem is that if that campsite is like bad or occupied, like I don't really have any other choice because the next campsite's a lot farther. So hopefully, I mean, I haven't found any campsites occupied so far, so except for at High Rock, but there are multiple High Falls, I should say. But there are multiple sites there, so we'll see. Probably another hour of hiking. It's about 4:45 or something like that. All right, just made a left turn, and the trail sign says 2.5 miles to Chair Rock Flow. It's longer than I hoped, but hopefully be quick hiking. All right, I think I'm getting pretty close to the Chair Rock campsite. Really hoping that it's empty because I've had enough for the day. All right, so luckily the site is unoccupied. There's a picnic table here, fire ring. It's actually a pretty big area, so even if there was people here, hopefully people have been willing to share. Not sure why it's called Chair Rock. I was expecting to see some kind of rock that looked like a chair. It's a nice spot, but it's the water. This is Cranberry Lake, so it's kind of like very marshy here. Which, like, the last spot was the same thing. They're both like basically flows or little offshoots of the lake, but they're kind of shallow and marshy. Not great for swimming. But there's a stream running into the lake right before you turn off the trail to get to the campsite. So I'm gonna go back there and take a refreshing dip. All right, morning, day 4. Just getting started hiking, leaving Chair Rock Flow. Last night, it was thundering for a couple hours, no rain, while I made my dinner or enjoyed my fire. Then around 9 o'clock, it started raining pretty hard, so I went to sleep. Rained for maybe about an hour or more. Today, my original plan was to head to our campsite at East Inlet Flow for tonight, but since I went farther yesterday than I intended, I might go a little further today to Brandy Brook Flow. Each spot has a couple of campsites, so we'll see. Today we should pass a couple other ponds, Dog Pond and Curtis Pond. Dog Pond will be next up. So the sun is coming out, so it should be another good hike. All right, so just made a left turn at a trail junction. There's a sign that says I've come 5.2 miles from Chair Rock Flow. Seems like it was longer, but, and I have about 1 mile until Dog Pond. 8.4 to Brandy Brook Flow, which is where I'm planning on camping. So that would be like a total of, I guess, 13.6 for today. So, all right, so I've made it here to Dog Pond. There's a campsite up the hill here where that rowboat is. But like the rest of the ponds, it's pretty nice. They're big. So by the campsite, it's kind of marshy here, but I made my way out to this rock slab. Which I think I can go swimming. The water looks nice here. Alright, so that was a nice stop at Dog Pond. Very refreshing swim. Tried some clothes in the sun. Now, next stop would be Curtis Pond. There might be a few smaller ponds before that. And I'm not sure how far Curtis Pond is. It's the first view of Curtis Pond. So there should be a campsite somewhere on the shore, which I'll stop and take a break at. So I'm at the Curtis Pond campsite. Nice spot. Not gonna go swimming here. It's a little marshy, gooey in the water, but pretty nice spot. All right, so I'm walking along the East Flow or East Inlet. This is one of the few spots where the sun is actually penetrating the forest canopy. Usually you never even see the sun. But there's a couple of campsites along the lake here. I'm gonna stop at one of them for a break. Here's one right here. I'm gonna go to the second one, I think. So this is the second campsite that I passed at the East Flow. Both really nice. Both sites, nice fire pit, very grassy area, nice shoreline. Very nice. Very foggy now too. Alright, just took a nice break here. This campsites here are so nice. Every one of them pretty much. So now I'm headed to my final campsite where I'll camp tonight, on basically Brandy Creek Flow or something like that. Brandy Brook Flow. There's about 4 sites there, I believe. And it should be about 2 miles or about an hour of hiking. Alright, so this is the campsite, my campsite at least, at Brandy Brook Flow. So I got like my tent and parts trying to dry out from last night or this morning when I packed it up. Some clothes drying. I went swimming and did some laundry first just because it's like thunder. It's been thundering for like the last hour, but it doesn't really look that bad out. It's still pretty sunny, so, but just in case, I took care of that stuff first. Now I'm gonna probably get ready to have dinner. Alright, it's morning of day 5. Took a little while to get going this morning, but I'm on the trail now, and we're finishing up the hike in Cranberry Lake. I should have about 6 or 7 miles to go, maybe. I will first pass a bunch of other campsites here on Brandy Brook Flow, and then looks like it goes through the woods for a while and then into the town of Cranberry Lake. Well, these boardwalks are a pleasant change from other wet areas. Alright, so this last stretch, I think basically the rest of the hike is going to be along this road, which normally would not be my favorite, but I am looking forward to this part because I've had enough of the mosquitoes and black flies buzzing around me for the last 5 days. Today the black flies are biting me through my hat. It's pretty crazy, so, but no bugs on this road, so that's good. Alright, just walked through the town of Cranberry Lake. Not much there. Pretty long road walk. Then I just crossed the bridge over the outlet to, I guess there's a dam at this end of the lake. So now just looking for the boat, overnight boat launch parking that where I started. Alright, here I am back at the parking lot where I started. Overall, so 5 days, pretty good hike, a lot of really cool spots. It was, you know, a lot of long stretches through the woods that were a little bit boring, but some cool spots along the lake and along the various ponds, good campsites, a lot of bugs. Now I get to drive home.